So, to be honest, I don't feel quite ready for a cape just yet. Since I've been diagnosed with ADHD, I have been doing everything that I can to learn as much about it as possible. And I've been doing that the way any normal, modern human being would do that, by watching a ton of YouTube videos. There are a lot of good videos out there, some of them put out by people who happen to have ADHD and can talk about their experiences, which have been really helpful to me. But one thing that I have noticed is that some of them refer to ADHD as their superpower. Now, I admit I still have a lot to learn about ADHD, but I never realized that I got it because I had been bitten by a radioactive distraction, which gave me powers far and above those of mortal men. Okay, maybe I am being a little facetious here, but it strikes me as strange that more than one person would refer to ADHD as a superpower. Now, I think positivity is always good. And wherever situation you find yourself in, you should always look for the positive in it. And seeing ADHD as something that could work in your favor, act like a superpower, I think that's a really good mindset to have. But I also realize that the differences in Superman, which gives him his powers, also makes glowing green rocks from outer space a real pain in the neck for him. As you're well aware, I'm a big proponent of Eastern philosophy, which means that I believe that it's just as helpful to look at the negatives of a situation as well as the positives. Now, by that, I don't mean you should dwell in the negatives and let it depress you and beat you down. But I do believe that if you look at the negatives of a situation in a reality-based way, that you can make steps to help mitigate or even to some degree eliminate those problems that you're having in your life. So today, here are 3 pieces of kryptonite that I've noticed are hiding within my superpower. Now, the first one is my love of distraction. Now, that's allowed me to sample all kinds of different things in life. And it's probably the reason why I became a writer. One, because I have all these experiences to draw from, but also, without my love of novelty, I probably never would have pursued writing. I would have figured out a job that I could stand to do that got me through the day, and I would have stuck with that, and my life would have been to that, and it wouldn't have been all the exciting adventures that I've had in my life. But the very thing that's helped me to become a writer is standing in my way of actually doing the writing that I need to do. The slightest distraction away from my writing just throws me so off kilter that I can't get anything done. And of course, with the health issues I've had in the past, there's no possible way that I'm going to be able to write through the noise of my concern and worry and my inability to basically control my emotions in this situation. The second one, strangely enough, is the fact that I know that I have ADHD. Now, there's this trope in magic that if you know something's true name, you gain power over it. And the fact that I know that I have ADHD, it allows me to explain a lot of things in my life that up to that point were a real mystery to me. But knowing can also be a problem. It's kind of like that situation where you've lost your keys and you're looking for them, and they just happen to be in the very last place that you looked. Well, of course they are, because once you found your keys, you stopped looking. And that can be a real problem with ADHD, at least for me. Now that I know what's going on, I stop looking. Now, what I mean by that is when something would go wrong in my life because I thought I was being stupid or careless or lazy, well, I would try to come up with some way to mitigate these, what I thought were character flaws. But now that I know I have ADHD, I've got this convenient little hook I can hang all my problems on. Lost my car keys? Well, I got ADHD. Forgot to pay a bill? Well, I got ADHD. Couldn't go on my planned picnic because it started to rain? Well, I got ADHD. Knowing that I have ADHD gives me an answer to a problem, but it doesn't necessarily give me the solution. I can't allow myself to be satisfied just with the knowledge of why I behave in the ways that I do. If my behaviors are causing me problems in my life, I need to figure out effective ways of dealing with those problems. I have to push past the explanation and get to a solution. The third thing is how deeply I feel emotions. One symptom of ADHD is having trouble regulating emotions, which means that people like me who have ADHD tend to feel emotions much more intensely and are affected by them in a much greater extent than the average person. And what that means is when I love someone, I love them to the ends of the earth. There's no halfway when it comes to how I care about someone. Now, along with that, unfortunately, comes RSD, which stands for Rejection Sensitive Dysphoria, which means that I will do all kinds of things, even if they're not within my own best interest, to keep from being rejected or thought badly of by another person. And because of that, I have let people in the past walk all over me. I've let them hurt me. I've let them break my heart. And the worst part of all of it is, after I got my heart broke, I blame myself for it. And I think of all my ADHD symptoms, this is the one that has done me the most damage. I need to exercise self-care. I need to expect people to treat me in a decent and a caring and thoughtful way, and not think of myself as being selfish because I expect that from other people. And when I treat people with kindness and respect and thoughtfulness, and that treatment is not reciprocated, I've got to stop blaming myself for that. But I also need to learn to lean in more on my Eastern philosophy and realize that the way people treat me isn't just one thing or the other. It's not just love and respect or scorn and disrespect. It's part of a sliding scale. And I need to learn to react appropriately to where they fall on that scale and not treat them with an extreme on either side of the spectrum. There are good things about ADHD that I can use to my advantage. And there are bad things that, if I work at it, I can learn techniques and strategies that will help me to lessen the damage that they do to my life. But I feel like we all have those good parts of ourselves and bad parts, and that life is all about learning how to balance those things out, learning how to mitigate the weaknesses that we have so that our strengths can shine through. I guess that's what they mean when they say living your best life, which I sure am trying to do.